and make sure there's enough space, because it eats up the memory, you know. There's these things, let's gobble it up. Yep, got enough there. Otherwise they cut it off halfway through, which isn't much fun. So if you're deciding on doing something like I do, you've got a storm there. Okay, yes, there will. Good morning, Roland, there you are. Okay, so we're going to begin now. And my glasses, I hope, are not irritating you. I've got reflective ones being repaired, so which I normally wear, non-reflective, I should say. Okay, so let's begin. So welcome to our session about the roller coaster ride that's going on in society, in particular things like Bitcoin and the passive wealth creation that everybody's interested in doing now. As you'll see, very, very importantly, the property market, the way the political scenario is going, the world in itself, you and your personality. And is it possible, people ask, to be able to navigate our way through this extraordinary time that we live in? It really is an extraordinary time with the outer space and the Mars ideas of building things on the moon and on Mars, and they found all this water. Did you notice this week they found huge slabs of ice in Mars, which will melt much more easily because it's very close to the surface. And previously it was 30 meters, I think, underneath. It was too difficult to get to, but now they found these swathes of it, which is quite extraordinary when you think about it, that they'll be able to put water back, oceans, in other words, and then they'll be able to start an atmosphere, and they'll be able to use the water to divide it into oxygen and hydrogen, oxygen for breathing and hydrogen for rocket fuel. And an extraordinary thing to have found in this very early days of getting there. So who knows what else they're going to find? Maybe a whole civilization underneath somewhere, or the ruins of some buildings or something of some alien civilization, or maybe Earth people started in Mars and came to Earth. Who knows what the future will bring? Anyway, it's a very, very interesting time. It's extraordinary time, quite frankly. It's very important for you. I'm going to go through these things now, because the most vital powers you need to awaken in the next few months, and we're only talking months now. If you've been with me, you've known that we've been speaking about this since 2012, these kinds of subjects of the future and what's coming. And of course, slowly things started to come out. 3D printing was new when we began it as an invention. Now, of course, it's everywhere. And all the other kinds of advances that you see, stem cells, medical profession advances, all those sorts of things, are really speeding up and being integrated with ordinary daily life. So the future is something that you can perceive, and you're going to need that. This is the first thing that you're going to need, is the ability to perceive the future so you can be prepared for what is coming, so you know what to do to create the experiences that you want. And this is the big issue. How can you create the experiences that you want? This is always the issue in your life. This is why you're interested in personal development. You're interested in the mind. You're interested in the personality, because these are the elements that you have in order to be able to create what you want. So it's going to be a very challenging time for those who are not prepared, who have not been filling their minds as to how to react to this extraordinary science fiction world we're entering, as well as what is necessary to do to preserve the lifestyle they have already. This is what you want to be aiming at. How can I preserve my existing lifestyle and improve it? You don't want to go backwards if you can help it. And we're going to obviously aim very much at helping you make sure you can build on what you've got. So the aspect of what's happening in the world today, which we will discuss, they will have a very powerful effect on your income. And this is the big issue. Never in history, really, has this happened. We've had 100 years of sort of a civilized wage earning life with security, long-term security, and you learned something at school and university or a trade, and that lasted you all your life. Those days have gone. Now, property defines Australia's financial state, if not most of the developed world. And if that property bubble bursts, then so will many people's security. Most Australians, and as I say, many countries, have all their wealth in their house, in their property. And we don't want to find ourselves in the situation where suddenly the property drops 30% or something, and you suddenly find you're what's called underwater in real estate terms, that your property is more expensive than you imagined that it would ever possibly be, in the sense that its value has dropped down to below what the mortgage you've borrowed. So you're in an underwater state. We could see Bitcoin crash and burn with shock and awe, with just one action from the authorities, which has already begun. Later in the session, I'll explain that to you, because a lot of people are very interested in Bitcoin, but there's more important things first. And you probably saw in the papers today, if you read the papers or look at the news programs, you probably saw that Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, has got a new algorithm on Facebook because they got many, many complaints from people saying there were basically too many business posts and little videos with quotes on them and invitations to websites to clickbait and sell people things and all that, and people complained. So they've had to flip it all. They've had to reduce the algorithm in the sense of putting those things high on people's news feeds. They've had to put them right down the bottom of the news feeds. Advertising will still remain as it is, but there are many, many news media companies and companies in general who've got fan pages, and they put things up all the time, and that's how they'd run their business, BuzzFeed, things like that. And they have been gaining their clients and customers from that Facebook source, encouraged originally, or at least invited originally by Facebook to do that. But Facebook did not really know that the people didn't really like it and started to drift away. They can't have people leaving, otherwise they haven't got a business like any of us. And so what they've done now is change the algorithm to make it much more what it was originally, which is family and friends communicating with each other, interacting with each other. They're trying to make Facebook a more friendly place to be. They're trying to get rid of all the horrible pictures and the trolls and the Russians influenced the election and all these things you hear about. So it's a big challenge because Mark Zuckerberg fortune went down by 3.5 billion yesterday due to this change, because they think it's going to shrink people, but long term it'll invite more people and keep them there. So that's a shocking thing for the entrepreneurs who were depending on Facebook for their source of people and therefore funding. Many of them will go broke overnight. Many companies will just disappear off the face of the earth due to that one decision that had to be made from Facebook's point of view. So we'll see a little bit more about all these things and their effect on you, but this is the kind of world you're living in now. So let's look at the most important and unavoidable information you'll need for complete success. Don't have any other idea except complete success. You want a holistic success. You want everything to work in your life in the best way that it can, and you want to have that vision, if you like, in your mind. So we're going to see how it is and what you need to do in the sense of creating yourself into a person, and you start to think about these things, creating yourself into a person who can experience ever-increasing confidence. Confidence is very important. It's like self-esteem. It's like inner strength. It's the ability to do in life. Even if you make a fool of yourself, I've made a fool of myself a number of times in the sense that, people haven't appreciated what I've done, or they just want to stick the knife in, or whatever it might be. But you have to have that confidence, that persistence, That is one of the most powerful qualities, and it comes from different subpersonalities. We'll talk later on. Happiness is obviously what you need. You want great powers of creativity and innovation. What is to innovate? It means to bring something new into fruition, into the world. They talk of innovation in business a lot, of improving things, but you can innovate your own life, make your life something new, something better, because that's one thing that's going to be consistent throughout your life, which is things are going to change dramatically and very, very quickly, as we saw just now with the Facebook and all those media companies. Their change is an unfortunate one, but there are many, many great changes as well. And these are the things that are going to give you the opportunity for great success. These are the vital, if you're going to be successful in the future. You have to be a creative person to keep your flow of income coming into your bank account. And that is a result of your innovation, a result of your creativity. But we are in an era now where the past, in the sense of the nanny state, the welfare state, cradle to grave, being looked after, if something went wrong, the government would supply, those days have gone. They're not with us anymore. There will be a rebellion as it tries to happen, but the money's not in the till anymore. It's been spent getting over the 2008 global financial crisis, trillions in debt, as you probably know. And it's a tough challenge to think that the past can repeat itself. I've said previously that I've read that they say that someone leaving school today will have to retrain themselves 32 times in their life. Maybe they're going to live to 150, but they're going to have to change themselves dramatically in order to stay employed, in order to keep income coming in. So always remember this: success in any venture at all is always due to who you are, not what you know or what you've got. A lot of people, they go to university, get degrees, marvelous work to get degrees and trades and skills, and they go to all sorts of courses and they get these things. But as we know, the requirement for those qualifications can pass like a breath of wind. It's gone suddenly. We'll see, as a result of this Facebook thing, a lot of journalists will be thrown into the unemployment scrap heap because they just won't be able to get the income, because people aren't coming, etc., etc., etc. So don't let that worry you. Don't fall into a hole and think, oh, what's a bore? It's so tough. Life is hard. 99% of your abilities, literally 99%, have never been used as yet. You're using 1% or less of your mind. And you're unaware of what you've got inside, because we live in a society which is focused on the external, of being successful and conquering nature and putting rockets out of space and so on. That's been done well by the human race. The little bit that people are looking within themselves they're really doing sort of meditative practices, which are meant to be self-exploration and release. They're doing them more for soothing, healing, relaxing, and that's all great for it. But we don't have in our culture the idea that you've got this incredible thing within you, which we term the mind. It's not much good word really, because what does it mean? You've got this something inside you, and if you could just apply 1% more of it, then you could transform everything in your life in an extraordinary way and live much more of the life you prefer. So we're going to look at this now, give you some tips and tricks as we go through. So let's first of all deal with the property market. In Australia, again, that's what we're focusing on a little bit here. I'll speak about America and the UK and other countries a little bit perhaps, but basically it's all the same, as I said. And after that, we'll go into the reality of your body-mind instrument, tuning it up, and then we'll go give you some Bitcoin the story on that as well. So what is interesting is that if you tune up your body-mind, this thing you live in and as in through, for continual success in this new world, that is the easiest form of creating income and wealth, actually. People don't realize that it's who they are. What are the qualities you have internally that decide your financial success and every other kind of success? What is it? What can you do with your inside world? Well, we'll get to that when we get to subpersonalities. But first of all, let's look and see whether you'll have a valuable home to live in or whether it's gone down. And this is the key to this is the new tax legislation in the US. This is going to affect Australia and the other developed world countries. It's all part of the Trump bump, as we've been calling it. Trump came in, there was a big upsurge and flow of monies into the stock market, and people became more confident. Jobs came back to America. This sort of thing is happening in part, at least, which is what he was aiming to do. And what will happen, what's going to add to that tax legislation, where they've cut the corporate taxes dramatically down, which is a big saving, and that encourages people to invest in their businesses, and hopefully that'll trickle down to employment. I think Walmart's, I saw in the paper, they've given everybody a $1 an hour raise, their workers. So they've gone from $10 to $11 an hour US. It's not a hell of a lot, but look, they did something. So that's rather nice, at least. So also there is because of those tax changes, there's going to be the bringing back of trillions of dollars stashed overseas to avoid high tax rates in the US, which they've now reduced. And that's going to bring a lot of money back for those gigantic companies, Google, Apple, etc. Now, what is that going to do? This is where you learn. Interest rates, therefore, could be quite rightly expected to rise in the States as the money comes in, a little bit perhaps, because what they're trying to do is make America great again, as he said during the campaign, and in other words, bring all the jobs back. And when the jobs come back and the investment will follow the policies, so monies that are invested in Australia or Asian countries or wherever else will be sucked back to the United States again. You're finding Chinese businesses, because of the Chinese problems, they are moving to America to put their, is that bizarre? Put their factories in America just to bypass various sort of problems of tariffs or whatever it is that he's done to fan the flames of fear in all these companies. And what that means is that the Chinese are not really buying as much as they used to buy in the sense of property in Australia. So you've got a lot of units. It's not a disaster, but there's a lot of units, many empty ones, and who they're renting out now, who are taking the heat out of the Australian market, because as you probably know, the Chinese buyers were the ones. Sydney prices are falling in many areas already. Auction clearance rates are down or sinking. Building approvals are down. New home building is down. These are all signs of a lowering market. The boom is definitely coming to an end, and the authorities are desperately trying to make it a soft landing, because Australia seems to have most of its wealth, individual wealth, in their real estate. And any government that spoils real estate will be turfed out of the office. So they're doing everything they can to make sure that that drop of 30%, which is what the powers that be say we are overinflated, and we have a bubble of 30%, and we're overvalued, in other words. So with any luck, and it's luck, those holding property, it'll be a gentle landing. But if one of the big events takes place, which is that overseas investors make money in Australia for the banks to borrow higher interest rates than it is on a bank level, because they can get a better return in America, because all the money is being magnetized back to the States due to the Trump policies. So that's what you're facing. If they need money, the banks, obviously they do need a lot of money, they're going to have to pay higher interest rates. And who's the punter that pays the higher interest rates, obviously the homeowner. So that's just the way it goes. Now, the problem with that is, in the Australian property market, is that there are many people on negative gearing, hanging on by their fingernails, no slush funds sitting around, and they have to keep paying the negative part of the gearing. In other words, what the rent doesn't cover on the house they've bought or are buying, and that space can become too much for a lot of people. They're really stretched, a lot of people. So they might have to suddenly start to sell. And then when they are selling, fire sales, panic sales, you don't need many to drag down the prices in a whole suburb. You have 5 houses in one suburb dropping $100,000, $200,000 in price. That drags all the prices down in that suburb because no one's going to pay what the other people want who aren't stuck in negative gearing or problems with real estate. So the first detonator on such an explosion, a collapse, I've lived through probably 3 housing collapses in Australia. The first detonator, which will cause it to explode, will be an interest rate rise. This is what all the punters and the people who are authorities on these things say. If the interest rates go up, that's going to cost the negative gearing people a lot more money, and the homeowner. Many homeowners are living just sort of almost hand to mouth. Many people, because of the debts that they've got themselves stuck in. So interest rates rise, coupled with the US interest rates rising. This will strongly affect the Australian real estate market dramatically. It just gets down to how much they rise. If it's only 0.5%, it's not quite such a problem, obviously. But those people with all those negatively geared properties, they are the problem. So what you do if you are in property and you're thinking of selling or whatever, look to China's property market, see what's happening there, read regularly the business papers, Business Insider and things like that, read those on the web, see what they're doing, keep an eye on China. China could go, substantially down to what it is now. Then keep an eye on the states and see what Trump and the Republicans are doing to suck all the money back to America. Keep your eye on what the financial press say about the banks and what they're having to pay for interest, and you will sniff it out before it collapses. So the capital, if it goes out of Australia or it costs much, much more, then get ready to man the hatches, because that will be the pin that pricks and bursts the bubble. Bubbles tend not to deflate, they tend to burst, pop, which is, in other words, sudden actions. And there are so many contributing factors in today's world, far more than there used to be. Those ones I've given you are the major ones. At the moment, it seems to be under control. It seems to be easing slowly, but a sudden unexpected event, threat of war in North Korea, for instance, North and South Korea, Americans come in perhaps, Japanese might come in, China could be a threat of anything like that. Well, the real estate and the financial people, they're like cattle in the sense that you can spook a herd of cattle and have a stampede. And I can assure you, anything that looks like war will cause a stampede, a panic, and people will want to get out quick, and the spiral down will start, and suddenly, 2 weeks will pass and everything will be down 30% or something like that. That's what happened in 91 and those times, or 87 as well, when the stock market went. Anyway, that is one way of looking at it. The other way is this: whenever you're going to go into real estate, there's one secret of success, which is always fail-safe, is buy undervalued property. There's always somebody selling something undervalued. If you don't get the one you want, go around the corner, there'll be somebody else. In whatever state the real estate market is in, there's always, always, always undervalued property. Why would you want that? Well, number one, you get immediate value that hasn't been priced in. So if you get a $500,000 house for $400,000, well, obviously you've bought an undervalued property, and that $100,000, you can either do up the house and get more loans out of it, or that $100,000 can be something that is available for equity, or for resale So if things drop from $500,000 in your suburb to 400,000, you've bought a property at the right price. So that's why undervalued is always best. You listen to the big real estate guys, that's what they do. And there's a but to all this. We must have this but. This is very important for you, for your property portfolios or individual houses or anything else. It's very important for you because everything else is going to pale into insignificance when you take this into account. And the overall economy is the key, yes, as I've just described briefly. But the unknown and overriding factor today, which has never been there before, is the effect of robots, technology, and artificial intelligence on real estate. Now, what effect could they have? Well, let's think that through briefly. What is robotics and artificial intelligence going to do? They are going to reduce jobs for humans. That's it. That's what they're designed to do, to replace humans. So think that through. People aren't thinking this through strongly enough yet. When individuals, people like you and me, start losing their jobs, what do they do if they're under stress with their mortgage? They have to sell their home if the stress is enough and downsize to make ends meet, or just sell and take their equity, what they've got left of it, and keep it renting just to see what things happen in the future jobs-wise. They reduce their standard of living. Now you get that, you think that through because we've never seen this before, mass threats to jobs. Then what you find is that the price of real estate will crash, sometimes dramatically. And we have to go back to the 1929, early 30s to see the Great Depression, to see what happened. And I saw a map once. I bought a block of land, a farm once. And I got the map. It was an old map of all the blocks of land. You know how they divide it up. If you've ever seen those maps, that every single block of land is divided with the name of the owner on it. You can check who owns it and so on when you're buying a block. This one came from that time. They never upgraded it since the 1930s or 40s. And 90% of every property had the name of a bank on it. And I asked the agent, I said, why are the banks thing? Is that because they've mortgaged? He said, no, the banks had to resume the properties after the Great Depression or during and after the Great Depression because people could not fulfill their mortgages, so the bank had to take them back and keep them. And literally 90% of hundreds of farms, because I was buying a farm at the time, hundreds of farms just had bank names on them. That's a major crash. So what you need to do is to look and see if that is coming, and you've got to start to get, long-term vision. You've got to start to pick out these elements. So you've got to be educated on how to do that. I've got something to help you with that later. You've got to know, because no one's going to tell you. By the time it reaches the papers as the full story, it's too late, quite obviously, because everybody else is reading the same papers. You've got to see these things yourself, pick up the little snippets of news and put together what's actually going on. So if a lot of people lose their jobs due to robotics, they won't be able to pay for their homes. Lots of homes will come on the market. And when lots come on the market, what happens to the price? It deflates. So that's the situation we haven't been in before. Why? Because no job equals no money. And that means, of course, no consumers to spend the money. No money equals no buyers, in other words, in the shops or on the net even. No buyers equals deflation. That is the horror for, the Great Depression. The deflation is what we are desperately trying to avoid. All the economists and bankers and governments and everybody, they don't want deflation, because what happens in deflation is as prices start to go down for everything, and everybody thinks, well, I won't buy anything until the price reaches the bottom, and then I'll buy things, which is, of course, a fatal mistake, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Down goes the price more and more and more and more and more, ruining everything, throwing people out of work. So deflation is the enemy, you might say. So the prices of everything, including real estate, would go down in a deflationary period. And I'm going to show you what to do to protect yourself against these things, because a lot of people, you might have heard the phrase, more people became millionaires in the Great Depression than at any other time in history. I don't know whether that's still today, but at that time, this is what they, at that Depression time, that's what they said. So we're going to look at why it is necessary for you to get ready for these upcoming challenges straight away, and how you can protect yourself in the future, as well as prosper, thrive and prosper, not just protect, but thrive and prosper. And this is very good for your mind to hear this, because you're going to need constant and continual infusions of positivity. This is a very, very important thing to know. The mind, we had that early question there at the beginning about how is it that you can get so affected by other people? Why is it so easy, from Sue Ellen, why is it so easy to be influenced by the drama in other people's lives? We just pick up things. That's the problem. We just pick up things from other people, and we have to be very, very careful that we infuse ourselves with positivity, as much positivity as you possibly can. And there are great opportunities for you. And as long as you are proceeding along to take up those opportunities, then that will help you a lot. It's comparatively easy, and you've got a far greater chance of success than the average, because you're interested in your own personal development and achieving a better life experience. And keep those thoughts in the forefront of your mind as well. Even if you repeat things like, I am, committed to a positive experience of life, and so on, that kind of thing. Otherwise, you've got, I'm committed to poverty. If you're worried about that all the time, that's the forefront thought that you have there within you. So let's go through the details. You know part of this already, but let's make it very, very, very clear, as time is moving very, very fast. And you're going to have to put things in place. So we'll reverse engineer the whole thing. You can see what it is, so you understand it easily. So the world, as you can see, any day in the media, is undergoing an ever-increasing, very rapid series of changes and dramatic technological and scientific leaps, which will, sooner or later, affect your ability to gain income unless you take appropriate actions. That's the scenario that we face. A lot of people deny it. A lot of ostriches out there, heads in the sand. They hope for the best. They don't see the challenge of technological advances, of robots, AI, automation, biomedical engineering, all these things. It has arrived. It's not coming like it was last year when we spoke about it. It has arrived. And perhaps the most obvious place to see the biggest evidence of the devastating effects of these changes is the retail outlets in the city high streets in the developed world. Shops and stores are falling over like ninepins as the internet takes over. It's called the retail apocalypse in the trade. Apocalypse now, retail apocalypse. For instance, in Australia, Pumpkin Patch, the children's store with hundreds of shops, very, very, I remember it when my children were young, fabulous clothes and all that sort of thing. They had to get out of it, gone purely on, they were lucky somebody bought them to go onto the internet, otherwise they would have been completely finished. I think they were over 20 years or something like that. Another one is the Speciality Fashion Group, which has brands like Rivers. You might have seen those shops, Rivers, the shoes they have and everything. Katie's, very famous chain of shops, and Diana Ferrari, and the Gap stores also in Australia, closed. In the UK, Thomas Cook. Thomas Cook was around for 100 years as the big travel agent. Many of their stores have had to close. They've still got some presence there. Homebase, which is like the Bunnings of the UK, that kind of thing. Toys R Us. Toys R Us. Extraordinary. In the UK, the one in the UK, and in America too, exactly the same thing. bankrupt, trying to struggle through to make it work. They haven't closed yet completely in the States. But you've also got J.C. Penney closing many stores. J.C. Penney, huge names. Macy's in all the Hollywood films. Radio Shack, very famous. They're disappearing from the streets onto the web. Hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of staff being shaken off like apples off a tree. Some are changing to keep up, like Walmart in the USA. That is the biggest retailer, 3 times the size of Amazon. They're turning their shops, many of them, their big stores, into staffless warehouses. Warehouses with no staff. You go in, you find the goods you want, you pay electronically on the way out. You've got a security guy watching, or a gal, as they have over there. You just wipe your phone over the little reader and out you go with your products. Now, retail is the largest employer, and at the moment it looks like being the biggest loser of jobs because the customers have gone onto the internet. Now, what are these jobless people going to do? First, they're going to be forced to lower their expectations with regards to wages. That's the first thing. Then they will realize that their main hope is to gain employment in a warehouse shipping goods that have been purchased on the internet. And these vendors, Amazons of the world, are not known for their generosity. Quite rightly, as it should be. They're a business, they've got to make a profit, etc., etc., etc. And they pay very low money, and there's always going to be, complaints about that, but it's a job. This is the world that's coming for people who do not reskill themselves. See, no one's thought it through. No one has really thought this through. I've read widely, I read every day. Nobody's come to a workable conclusion about the challenge of what to do with a huge and ever increasing percentage of people becoming unemployable. Not just unemployed, but unemployable. This is why you've got to upskill yourself, regardless of the education or experience you've had so far in your life. I deal with people regularly. I speak to people on the phone a lot who have had very, very high positions, even CEOs and people like that, who cannot get a job. It's shocking. All professions, same thing. You see, society has radically changed. No one owes you a living anymore, because what is important to realize is that those days have gone. We thought we wake up in the morning, we go to school, we get our degree or our trade, our skill, profession, whatever it was, and then we'd have a job for life. And life owes me a living was the thought around, when I was young. People thought, well, I've got to fit in and be given something. Finito. Why? Because the third world is coming on stream. They don't have any delusions like that. They are just in survival mode. They're going to, get money for the family, and they're not interested in anything else. The government's not going to cough up because they haven't earned. There are not enough taxes being paid. So you need to upskill yourself regardless of your education and experience that you've had so far. And what you want to do, I'm going to give you some advice here, free of charge, that you can live a life of comfort and ease with plenty of time to do as you please if you do what I'm about to suggest. But let's just give you some ideas as to what you can do, keeping in mind that there are many predictions, serious predictions from the highest offices in the land where the brightest people work, that say 80% of existing jobs will go. 80%. 3 billion people, their employment will disappear over a handful of years. Now, imagine that. Imagine the administration nightmare of that. You see, no government will be able to cope. Think that through. 3 billion people, 80%. How is a government going to cope? They're going to be struggling hard enough to pay the police to control the crowds. You see, it'll be up to every organization on the planet to deal with this. Everybody's going to have to jump aboard. And hopefully the robots will help in this situation. But I'm going to keep reminding you, as I always do in these things, that the only solution for you is to educate yourself and develop the new skills that can bring you income. You'll also need something to sharpen your mind and retrain it to become far more creative and innovative in the workspace. See, previously you got a job, you had some skills, you just sold those skills. Now you've got to be creative and innovate. And I use writing and mastering the internet. Those are the two things I have consciously decided to do and have done, as you're probably aware, for the last decade, in order to sharpen my mind. Because unless you use it, you'll lose it, as they say. You want to really make an effort for that. And you can use anything you like. I use the internet. You can use anything you like, as long as you're deliberately doing it with the conscious purpose of improving your mind. This is absolutely essential, which means primarily improving your concentration. What is that? It's the ability to hold your attention on one thing for an extended duration without wandering off into the monkey chatter or keep going and making a cup of tea or getting a drink or something like that. So that's the first step that you need to do. And there'll be many more jobs and businesses being created. Okay, it's not going to be, you know, the 80% unemployed forever, because there's going to be some jobs that will, you know, take up the slack, so to speak. But those are usually skilled, even highly skilled or professional jobs that the robots can't do. Don't think you're ever going to get a job long-term or even short-term which a robot can do. Why would anybody want to pay you a full salary when they can get a robot for $40 a week to do a much better job 24/7? So we need to wake up to reality. That's what's going to happen. And if a company won't do that and employs people, then the cost of their producing their goods, let's say it's $10 an item, the robot factory down the road will do it for $1 an item. How long is that $10 an item going to last? A week, they'll be gone. So everything will have to deflate, because all the goods will be made with all the free trade agreements they've got. All the goods overseas will use the robots. The Chinese are already stacking robots into their factories, and as are, you know, the Americans and everybody else now. So let's look carefully at how you can do this, how you can sharpen your mind, because that's what you're going to be selling, the sharpness of your mind. And we're going to use the internet as an example, simply because everything's going to move to the internet. The internet's got its nose in everything. There's the Internet of Things coming, where you're going to have 50 devices where you speak to something and it orders your air tickets or turns the oven on to cook the dinner, or, you know, that sort of science fiction world thing. And secondly, if you master the internet, then you have the ways of generating income from it in your home for the rest of your life, and it will train you to become an entrepreneur, a business person of any type. This is what it does to you. It's like, you know, it's unforgiving. The internet and computers are unforgiving. They're just total logic, and if you make a mistake on the computer, you know it's human error, and occasionally there's a fault, but you know, really, golly, what have I done wrong? And you see you didn't put a click here or whatever it is. So you need to do these three things here. Keep thoroughly informed in a practical sense by reading widely as to what is coming in the world, so you can think appropriately and be able to take the necessary actions. This must be your new habits. Believe me, these are vital. This is not some little fantasy I'm giving you here. This is survival par excellence, so you can live an improved lifestyle. If you ignore this, you will be uninformed. Do you want to be uninformed? Obviously not. So you have to get information into you. The second thing you need to do is to be able to sniff the wind, as they say in sailing, by developing your intuitive and perceptive powers, so you can receive intuitive insights from your superconscious as to what the future holds. And this is a very enjoyable skill to develop. You've got a superconscious. You wouldn't be alive if you didn't have a superconscious. The superconscious has superpowers: intuitive, extrasensory, inspirational, insightful, these kinds of things. And when you do train your intuition, it will give you the coincidences, the being in the right place at the right time, plus it'll flash in insights and information that will be very, very helpful for you indeed. And it becomes second nature. Happens to me all the time now. It's a constant thing. I'm used to it. I'm expected in a way, you know. I know that if I can't work something out or I need some inspiration, I just stop what I'm doing and I wait for a moment and bing, up comes the answer that takes me down the right track at the very least, either gives it to me fully or takes me down the right track. So the other thing is useful. If you think about it, if you get your intuition working, the superconscious working, you might have been following the medicinal cannabis oil that they're now licensing and approving. It's going through the roof price-wise, as one company's shares have increased 10 times in the last few months of that. Now, if those sorts of things happening, you will find that you will get a reminder and a sort of an alert from your superconscious about that. You'll hear someone talking about it. 9 out of 10 people will go, oh yeah, that's interesting. Oh, they're giving away dope now. Isn't that funny? Whereas if you have sharpened your mind through concentration practices on, let's say, the internet will do, or any job, but I like the internet, then you'll find that a light bulb will go on, bing, I better look into that. You'll sense it. It'll give you, you've got these higher powers, these other 99% you're not using, you might as well exercise at least 1% more of them. The other thing you're going to have to know, the third thing, is where the money in the economy is going. Because everything follows the money. The money is the key to it all. That money is like a bloodhound following the scent of profit. That's what it is. And you follow where people are investing and the opportunity for a profit. It's like bees to honey, same idea. There's no use going anywhere where the bees don't like if you want to get honey. You have to go where they want. And that's the same thing with your financial life. You have to look into the media and you have to see where the money is going. At the moment, we know Bitcoin, we'll get to that later on. We know that Bitcoin is where the money is going at the moment. Now, how do you do all this? Well, you have to understand your own subpersonalities. Subpersonalities are individual structures in your personality, in your mind, that determine where you're going, what's happening for you, how you behave, how you express yourself, whether you're intuitive or not, all those kinds of things. You have to understand the subpersonalities. And you know that you have different subpersonalities because how you behave to mum and dad is different how you behave to your own children. How you behave when you're out, dinner, at a party, socializing is different when you're at work, doing something on the computer. When you're on the sporting field, it's different from when you are walking along the beach with a stick for the dog and so on. So you have all these different aspects of your personality. And what I strongly suggest is that you start to make a note of them. Keep a little journal and start to define the different behaviors that you have for the different areas of your life, because it's the subpersonality you bring to the table, so to speak, that determines how successful you will be. Most people at work, when they go to work, they bring the couch potato to work. They don't really want to be at work. 85% of people statistically don't want to be at work. They want to be doing something else. So you bring your couch potato, which is the one that likes to lie back on the couch and watch the telly and the football and have a drink and that sort of thing. Hopeless for work, absolutely hopeless for work. Hopeless for anything, in fact, except being on the couch. Hopeless for dating, obviously. Hopeless for, cleaning up the garden, all those sorts of things. So start to make a note of your own subpersonality. Start to examine yourself. This is called self-examination. Start to see who you are. You're made up of a multiplicity of these little I's, these me's, and think about that carefully. I'll do something at another time, a proper full webinar on subpersonalities, but start the process by looking to see who is it you take to work? What are the qualities of the parts of your personality that you do take to work? Very, very important, because each of your subpersonalities has its own agendas. Now, let's look at one other thing. Bill Gates predicted that in a few years' time, there'll be as many robots as there are mobile phones today. As many robots. So you can imagine robots, automation, artificial intelligence, all these things will infiltrate human society into every nook and cranny like an alien invasion. Now you just think about that. If there are as many mobile phones as there will be robots, then that means there's going to be, everyone's got a phone, let's face it, there's going to be that many robots. Now think about that for a minute. What will it be like to walk down the street when there are many, 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 many robots walking along on errands, taking coffee, delivering pizza, doing the traffic, all these sorts of things, painting buildings, you know, could be anything you imagine that humans used to do. Or in an office, when you're in an office and you've got a robot in the next desk to you doing something. It's going to be a bit freaky, though. It's going to be really freaky for a lot of people. A lot of people will find it oppressive and want to run back to nature, quite obviously. And there'll be, you know, no work for them in nature because the robots will be doing all the farming as well. So they're going to have to come back to get to earn money. So even though there are obviously many benefits to robotics and artificial intelligence, and there are fantastic health benefits alone, no one has thought really, I've read all these articles, what are the shocking possibilities of something going wrong? With all these devices, they're just devices, you see, or terrorists or criminals taking some over, or when there's a power failure or some virus goes through the computers and so on, and they all stop working, and our whole lives are dependent upon them. And the infrastructure, the communications, the transport that depends on them. Will the driverless buses stop dead in the street, or will they go even faster and smash into things? You know, nobody knows. They all deny it's going to happen. This is just a strange thing. And what is the world going to be like when the jobs such as accountants, lawyers, stock market traders, shop assistants, bank clerks, fast food restaurant staff, drivers, pilots, librarians, office workers, tour guides, they're all going to be things of the past. There's always going to be a little nut of them, 20% of what there is at the moment, or 10%, a little nut of high experts in each of those fields. Some of those fields are professions, of course. And what about people having an identity crisis? Imagine you haven't got a job. What are you here for? What's the point of life? All those sorts of questions. A lot of mental challenges are going to come up, and the factories can't take on board these people anymore, can't give them a life. So there's been no real thought. There needs to be thought now. The government should have special commissions set up to deal with this problem, not just leave it to a couple of academics at a university to come up with an essay. It's serious. And, you know, the simple tasks will be taken from the professionals by their apps, but then the apps will get cleverer. They'll become more complex. In other words, they'll surpass the ability of the human beings. And people think this is going to happen sometime in the future. It's happened every day now. If you follow these things, it happens every day. So what are you going to do for yourself? You've got to think about this now. No one's going to think about it for you. You want to get to the head of the queue, whatever that might be for you. You want to establish yourself, make sure that you can live in comfort and you've got something else to do. You must prepare yourself. You must educate yourself. You must become informed. And one day, quite soon, when you read deeply about this, it'll be like a bucket of cold water over your head. The shock of the realization, this wake-up call will come for you. And what you want to know, and my advice most strongly, is get into the internet in some way. Start to learn to sell. Have that at home. Spend a couple of hours a week on it now. It's easy to do. You only need a laptop, a broadband connection, and just start to learn it. Start to do it. I'm not selling you anything on the internet. I'm suggesting that you start to read or study. Don't buy all these American courses for thousands of dollars. You don't need those. What you want is just some basic things to get the mind starting to think about it. And if you really interact with it, get to know it, just generally, don't try to sell anything in the beginning, just get to know it, explore it. You do your browsing already, I know, but just start to read different articles, millions of articles, billions of articles probably out there on it. Now, these advances have a huge upside, and they are basically these upsides. I mean, I'm talking about the robots and everything. What this means is that they are, this activity of artificial intelligence, etc., is creating the biggest opportunity, the biggest market for anybody in the next few years. It will be a huge, unsatiable probably, or insatiable market for coaching people, personal development, self-improvement education, from people who can see what's coming. They see the other people in the company tapped on the shoulder and gone, and they know, and it's very popular in America, and it always comes over here, 4 years later. It's extremely popular in America. Everybody's getting their coaching. It can be very mild coaching, can be specific, particular coaching, that kind of thing. And you will need to be coached in something, why? Because it's the fastest way for you to be at the forefront of the market. And you should learn these things and become a coach yourself, or develop the skills of doing it, because that's something you can set up very, very quickly with your internet knowledge. And there'll be millions of people, as I say, for the next several years, and you'll be able to benefit from the fabulous and amazing opportunities that will arise for you. And what we're doing is we're seeing young and old people making fortunes, small and large, on the internet already. Then once the robots, the artificial intelligence, and the internet get together into a single hybrid, which is what's coming, Internet of Things I mentioned, then we'll see the new world. But you can perceive what it's going to be before it comes, and you're going to be able to really move ahead and not get stuck in the past, which is what a lot of people will do. So what you want to do, let me tell you the summation of it. What you want to, then I'll give you the Bitcoin, because I know some of you are excited about that. What you want to do is to aim to create passive income. This is the gold, the treasure chest. Aim to create passive income, which means a minimal number of hours are set up with operating internet engines, which I'll now explain, an internet engine. And you use an internet engine, which is an automatic programmed campaign, which you can easily have made for you or learn how to do it yourself. There's lots of opportunities there. And you decide, what is it that people want? What is it that I can offer? And you don't try and think up what you offer. You find out how people are looking, what they want. They already know what they want. They don't need you to think up something. They know what they want. Just like you, when you're looking for a particular book, you get on the web and find it, and you don't bother to look at things you're not interested in. And what you will want from this exercise of learning about the internet is an easier, more enjoyable life and lifestyle, extra streams of money that automatically flow to you, and they come in almost effortlessly, like rent from a house. Now, can you imagine having 1, 3, 5, 10 of those set up, each one bringing in $500 a week? Better than a house. It won't go down in price. It's only cost you a few hundred to get the whole thing set up and running. And it's so simple to do. You find out what people are looking to buy. You make or find that product. You find if somebody else has got it as an affiliate, or you make it yourself. You attract customers to your site where you advertise it, promote it. Then you give those customers a free gift. Then you follow that with a small priced item. And then you can offer an upsell, a more expensive product associated with the original sale. You add that person to your list. You give them a weekly e-magazine or so, and then you invite them into your private group, your Facebook group, which is the new thing due to the changes in Facebook 2 days ago. We'll talk about those things later. So then you nurture and feed them. The key is the mail list. If you can build up a big mail list, that will be your ATM machine. So you find people are interested in a particular niche, you supply them with products for that niche, you do good work, and people will trust you, and they want to come back and get other things because they know the value of education. They know they need to be educated themselves. So you can do informational items, that's very good. You can do informational package, in other words. I suggest you start with digital products, that kind of thing. And what that will give you is, it's all easy. You can get things set up on a membership site. I'm briskly running through these because we're not doing an internet course. I will be doing another internet course soon. I know everyone's going to write to me and say, when are you doing another internet course? I will do one, you know, in a month or so, something like that. You have to know marketing. That's very helpful. A little bit of copywriting, a little bit of marketing, how to create products. All these things are very straightforward. I've done this. I've created 52 products now. I didn't know I had that many. I thought I had 35, but I totted them out and had 52. Of course, I didn't include in my calculations. Anyone can do the same. I'll give you the formula. It's all formulas. It's all formulas. It's not Einstein time. Believe me. It's enormously fun as well to do that. So I strongly recommend that you start to consider that. Maybe not get into it yet. Maybe you want to wait for next month or so. But what's important is that you actually start to turn your mind around to the point of getting an extra arrow in the quiver, getting that extra skill, and start to think about it seriously and start to follow the very simple steps. I've given you many things over the months, I know, but I'll lay it all out for you at some point in the future. So that would be my strongest suggestion to you, because when you use the internet, because it's computers and it's unforgiving, then you will become, your concentration will increase dramatically. You'll be able to bring it back. Your mind wanders, you bring it back, it wanders, you bring it back. It's a wonderful tool, a wonderful test of your concentration. And then you find that that actually delivers for you something very powerful. Now let's look at Bitcoin. And this is the other bubble in the Australian economy, apart from the property that we talked of. Now Bitcoin grew tenfold last year. Somebody invented it, some mysterious anonymous person invented it as a new currency. But of course, it has many flaws in it and much excitement. It's got no actual value, like gold has value because you can use it for jewelry or gold foil for the space shuttle and all that sort of thing. It's got some value, it's up and down. But Bitcoin has no value. It works on something called a blockchain, which is a computer device. Let's just keep it simple. And people have to be very clever mathematicians with lots of computer power to sort of work that out. But what it is an anonymous banking system, you might say, as well. It's another way of looking at it, an anonymous banking system. And that anonymous banking system is, of course, like honey to bees, and the bees this time being criminals, terrorists, you know, tax avoiders, all those kinds of people. This is a dream run for them. But at the moment, it's become like a casino, like the stock market in many ways. It's a casino. And what it seems to be the case is that it's owned, it's a number of coins. They put pictures of coins, it's not really a coin, but there is a limited number of these Bitcoins. And therefore, because it's limited and a lot of people want it, supply and demand pushes up the price. Now, this is, they say, a small elite is holding on to 90% of Bitcoins and they're not selling. They are the motivators to try and cause it to rocket in price, and they are waiting for their chance to go in for the kill and sell it all and then watch it collapse. This is apparently what's going on. So these are called predators in the jungle, when we see jungles, and those who they feed on are called the prey, P-R-E-Y, not P-R-A-Y. They may want to pray to God to save them, but once the thing collapses. But these are the gamblers. It's a gamble. It's a casino. And the small amount of it, the 10% of it being traded, forces the price up and up and up and up. You can be assured that the people who are running it are very wealthy, clever people, and they have their minions in the press writing articles in the media that encourages a frenzy of optimism for easy money. And people are making easy money. They're going in, they're buying it, some months or years ago, and they're selling it now when it gets up to 20,000 or something. They bought it at $10 and they're cashing in and getting their money. There are people every day, there's stories of these people making a fortune. But look wherever you can, and there are only closed doors, mysteries, a frenzied series of activities. No one knows who this founder is, or does he still hold Bitcoin? Has he disappeared? Nobody knows anything about it. Nobody can see the transactions being made, and everyone's living off rumors and innuendo and hope for easy wealth and buying and selling, and it's sort of a frenzied kind of thing. But the amounts of money are so huge, they've really got to have some big minds behind it. But it's got all the signs of a classic manipulation of the market. And in future, it will require you to keep your eye on two things. It's going to be a case of who blinks first, the government and the banks, or the Bitcoin holders, because the government and the banks don't like it simply, and they will inevitably take back control for a simple reason. They're going to lose out on vast amounts of cash if they don't, because the transactions are invisible. Nobody knows where the money, so to speak, is going to or who it's come from. The governments will legislate and insist, this is how they're going to crack it, they're going to legislate and insist that it is no longer allowed to involve secret transactions. And there's a quote here I got out off the web there. It's enough for the authorities to control the exchanges, the Bitcoin exchanges where people buy and sell. And this is already happening. The government's coming into control. Some weeks ago, the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, won a court order to access personal identity of users on the blockchain via the Coinbase exchange. So the government tax department got a court order. Now, this is justified, part of the Constitution and what have you, as preventing tax evasion. So if that is put into play, they've got the order, they haven't applied it yet, only a little while ago, the much lauded Bitcoin anonymity goes up in smoke virtually overnight. And since they then will know who owns and trades Bitcoin, they can also slap an extra transaction tax on cryptocurrencies, making it highly unattractive, at least for the people who are what's called mining, making the Bitcoins, finding them. And that would be the end. That would be the end of it. So now that's one intelligent quote. And it seems to me that it's just another way of taking the money off the punters. That's really what it is. Because as you know, when the taxi drivers start to give you stock market advice, it's time to get out of the market, is the old saying, or the shoeshine boy. In the old days, it was. Henry Ford said that when the shoeshine boy gave him tips on stock tips, he went in straight to the exchange and sold everything he owned. And sure enough, the crash came. So the legislation is being prepared to be applied. And no doubt, if it goes through, it'll spell the end of the fireworks of its been, as it has been for these last few months or several months, a year or two, probably the big money anyway. So, but what's underlying it is another battle, and this is the important part for you to know. There's another battle, which is which way is the political direction of the developed world going to go? It's a battle between the conservative side of politics and who want to keep individual freedom, and the socialists who want to control the population, the top down, run by the state, kind of. Those are the two opposing forces in society. Now, the best way to control a population is to withdraw cash, paper money, coins from the economy and make everyone pay for things on their phone. Now, watch out for this. When this is coming, you know it's over. There's a lot of things. See, once you've removed cash from the economy, you have complete control over the population, because the money is on their little screen, and everyone knows that's part of big data, which is what people are doing now. The big companies are all data companies. They mine data, they get data. And if they can get all knowledge on you, they've got a lot of knowledge on you already. But once they've got your money, they know exactly where you go, because every time you pay for something, there it is. They know where you go, what you're doing, who you are, how much you've got, etc., etc., etc. It will reduce freedom dramatically and will allow those who want to control everybody else to form an unbreakable government. They wanted a world government as well. That's another part of this whole thing. Now, who knows who's behind Bitcoin? Because it smells very much like it's one people or group of people who are into that. So you watch the articles coming about how convenient a cashless society would be and all that sort of thing. You've just got to be, really, really careful. So this is, as this comes up, I'll start to warn you about it and see what it is. But there is, you must keep informed about all these things, particularly the things we've spoken about, particularly the future, what's coming, the effect of all these different things that we've chatted about here. Now, what I have got for you, which you may or may not have seen, but I strongly advise you to get it. It's very, very important. It's a very inexpensive, it's only $47, a series of 7 reports on the future. 7 reports are coming your way. First of all, it's an overview of the shape of things to come. That's the first episode. They come out twice a week for the next 3 weeks. We will be given the jobs and the businesses that are going to disappear. This is important. You've got to know if your job is going to be replaced by a robot. I'm going to give you all the jobs and businesses that will disappear so you can prepare yourself for that. We're going to deal with the new career and business opportunities and lifestyle opportunities, fabulous, fabulous, wonderful life of total freedom opportunities, which you can get quite easily. I'll give you exactly the steps that you need for those. I'm going to show you how to make yourself into a futurologist so that you can study it properly, even professionally. You can learn about it. You will know enough to give talks about futurology. You'll become a very interesting conversationalist and a very interesting dinner guest, obviously, because this kind of stuff is urgent for everybody to know. I'm going to give you number 5, mind-blowing inventions, the things they're inventing that are in play now. The advances that are coming through are stunning, extraordinary inventions I'm going to give you, and that'll blow your mind, really. Then number 6, how to create yourself into a successful person for this upcoming world, because it's different from the past world. You've got to know how to do it. Otherwise, how are you going to take advantage of it? And you haven't got long, remember. We're all pedaling fast at the moment. And I'll also show you how to use the internet and increase your mind power as well, because that's really 90% of your success. Can you increase your mind power while you're doing something else that's practical and productive for you? So if you would like to grab that now, it's a reduced, very reduced price for you. Do get it. I'm going to put it in the question box, send to all, and the chat box as well. There's another little space there. I'll try it there. Code V, and I'll send that to you now. It's really, really very, very interesting. The first one is out. You'll get that when you've registered here. You'll get that straight away with your membership logins, so that you can take advantage of the membership site, which is up 24/7 for at least a year, and you'll be able to read and download the PDFs. So 7 PDFs, 7 lessons, reports which will save you an awful lot of suffering and heartache and confusion. You'll know an awful lot for that. So that's what we've got there. I'm going to take questions in a moment. I see questions are coming up. And the other thing is that if you're interested in a personal training with me, one-to-one training, I've got 3 spots left. If you'd like to become trained in, well, anything we do it in, but if you want to, say, set up your own internet business rapidly and quickly and be up and running as soon as possible, we can do that. As you've seen, I've got a lot of experience with it. I can certainly save you time and again, confusion, because it can take 10 years to plow through all the stuff on the web. You don't want to be doing that. But if you'd like to talk about the one-to-one training, we can train you in anything at all if you like. I've had writers come along, people who want to sort of improve their life in a variety of ways, find new careers, all sorts of things can be very helpful for you. So drop me a note in the chat box here. Just send me a note saying, please call, or just say one-to-one, that's 1-1, the number 1-1, and put your phone number in. I'll give you a ring. We can chat for a few minutes, see if it's right for you, because sometimes it's not right for people, but see if it's right for you, and I'll give you all the details if you'd like to hear about it. It really is the fastest way to do anything of your own personal growth in the best possible form. It's really quick, I must say. So that's that. Now, let me just get the questions as well. Okay, Lucy, you see me. Jan, good afternoon. Stephanie, hello. Lorna, hello. You got the storm, that went all right. Matt, you made it. Well done, Matt, you got in. Maria, hello, how are you? Nice to see you there. I was just wondering if this webinar will be recorded. Yes, I will send that out for you. Maria. Michael, love your work. Question, what are your thoughts on the blockchain technology in Bitcoin? Well, there we go, Robin. You came in nice and early, and I have given you some of my thoughts there. So I'm on the sidelines. I have not bought any, and I won't be buying any. Is it projected that Bitcoin will collapse in the near future? Well, my take on it is that the majority of people do say that. There are still news media coming out with articles about how it's still got, you know, $100,000 profit to make in a month or something. But you got to, when you understand media and press releases, you got to say, who is putting that story out? Would it be the people who own the blockchain trying to inflate the price? I would do it if I was in that position, I'm sure. But so you can't trust the news. We're in the fake news world, as you know. It's really not a good thing. So I am not an optimist. I think it's just like every other, in fact, it's the biggest bubble in history. If you look at the graphs, you know, they go off the roof at the top. But the world is mad at the moment, and we don't know who's doing what to whom. So I cannot say yes or no. But you heard my quotes that I got there. Thank you for the information. Bitcoin still backed by nothing. I'm waiting for asset-backed cryptos. Yeah, well, that would be nice, Jeremy. That would be nice. I was thinking of setting up a cryptocurrency myself to finance a project that I'm going to do. I've got a number of projects that I'm going to do soon, and that would be fun. I'm going to actually announce that I'm financing another film. I'm doing another film. Anybody's interested in investing in the film, just send me a chat. Just send me a chat box there, and I will let you know when I'm doing that. Tracy, we have 6 investment properties, all negatively geared. We're planning on buying another one with our super, and we were going to develop one of our houses. Should we go ahead? Should we hold our properties or sell? Well, that's a very difficult decision to make, because do you own the houses outright, any of them, or are they all negatively? Oh, it seems they're all negatively geared. Well, it depends how much negatively geared they are. If you have the money that there is a downturn, or you don't have your income coming in or whatever, then you might be better to consolidate and sell one, take the profit, pay off another 1 or 2, and so on, like that, as a consolidation. I did advise somebody to do that years ago in the last property, boom and crash. She had many, many houses, but she didn't take my advice, and lost nearly all of them, unfortunately. So I would say you have to look and see. There's no guarantee that property is still going to go madly upwards. Those pieces of information I gave you are true. That's what's happening, unfortunately, with the American economy. But we don't know if, if any of the disasters happen with North Korea or something like that, you won't want to be in a stretched situation. So just make sure you're not too stretched. Just try and have at least some of your properties paid off if you can, and then you can rest easy, because they will go up in value and you'll make enough out of those eventually. Even if it goes down, it'll go up again, as you know, in Australia. That would work. So I personally would be doing that if I had excess equity enough to pay off one or two of them while the prices are still reasonable. The Australian government on their large computer in ACT knew 20 hours what anyone has purchased on their credit cards. Yes, people know, they know that, do they? Good. Bitcoin, have you described the cabal, Illuminati? I haven't. I don't know those personally. Credit card was 1982. Yes, that's right. Jackie. Hi, Michael. Thanks for the information. What are the good sources to keep myself informed every day? Are there any good websites and good sources of information you recommend us? I'll put those in the, as promised, in the 7 reports program, the Shocking and Astonishing Future, it's called, by the way, the new course, the new $47 7 reports, the Shocking and Astonishing Future. So we get both sides of the coin. So I'll give you all that in there, and you'll be able to become an authority on it as well. Thanks, Michael. Can you give an example of 3 keys that would underpin and enhance a long-term relationship with a partner? Basically, for all relationships, you have to improve your own state. And the state that you're in projects your behavior. And I would say, as always, meditate. You should meditate regularly, get that going. You should not react negatively if you can control your own reactions. That's hard, because sometimes one's partner is going through hell and high water for a variety of reasons. It could be biological, illness, stress, lack of money, some close person, one of their parents dying or something like that. So people get thrown over a barrel a little bit, and that's what you need to try and do, is to improve your state. That is the only solution I've ever found. Improve your state. Realize that the subpersonality that's speaking to you or attacking you or whatever it is not the only one they've got, and you have to learn to elicit from them other subpersonalities. As I say, I'll do something on that for you. I look forward to reading the documents. Thanks so much, Michael. Thanks, Stephanie. That's great. Michael, we research other news outlets on the internet twice daily. The recent alarm in Hawaii we knew before it was revealed in the media. Okay. Yes, there's a lot you can catch before it gets to the media, because the media are just like you now. They're just watching what turns up on the web. Hi, Robin. Meant to say thank you. Okay, thank you very much. That's great. Thank you. Okay, Jill, thank you. I'm in the position of buying my first property this year. What would your advice be on this? Should I buy, or what type of property should I buy? What strategy should I use to prepare for a possible market change? Well, very, very important. Do what I did. Get an undervalued property. I went to Clovelly years and years ago when I was young, and I looked at 42 or 43 houses in the area and near the beach. And I got I knew what the average price. By the time I looked at 20 houses, I would know, but I looked at 40 odd houses, and I knew what the price was in that area. So I would suggest you do that, look at the prices, and then you will find one that is undervalued. And you will know it's undervalued, and you'll know by how much. I bought that house, I sold it within 2 weeks. I made $30,000. This is 30 years ago. I made $30,000 on it. And because I was going overseas, I didn't have to pay tax on it, completely legal tax thing. So that's what I would do. Buy an undervalued property in a good street, if you can, if you're lucky enough for that, but an undervalued property in general, that's the best thing that you could possibly do, because then you've covered yourself. Regarding real estate, beware. Recently had a prospective buyer offer $1,795,000 in a convertible note, with only security being 2 alleged contracts to purchase 2 transport companies, which invariably go bankrupt, and little possibility of regaining the investment. Scam out of New Zealand. Yeah, I mean, scams are everywhere. Shocking scams are everywhere, and you've got to be very astute. This new reports will help you, because I'm giving you some tips for being very successful, of which intuition and reading other people is definitely one of them. So you have to look for that. Thanks, Doris. That's nice. Thanks, Mario. That's great. Yes, so any other questions, let me know. And what is important for you is that you keep being proactive in this time ahead. You keep being proactive, because a lot of people become stunned mullets when things don't work as they imagine they would work. They've never done any work on themselves in the sense of becoming more conscious, and you will find that you will need to be, for yourself, strong, centered, know where you're going, be fully informed. Again, off the 7 reports will give you information you won't get anywhere else, and keep you fully informed of what's coming, so you know what is the country you're landing in, so to speak, the future. What is this future country that you're landing in that's going to really define your life? What's happening in the next 2 to 3 years will define the rest of your life, because you can imagine how many people who are getting replaced by robots, replaced by AI, who are well-educated, intelligent people, are going to be coming on the market. We're talking about, 800 million, whatever it is, jobs going. They're coming on the market, and they will want work too. So the competition will be fierce and intense. So establish yourself as soon as you can. Fill your mind up with the reality. Establish yourself as much as you can, and then that will be great for you. If you want to come to the one-to-ones, just drop me a line, and we can do that this coming month or so. And if you are interested in anything else that you'd like me to do, any other subjects, do write to me about that. As I say, I will do something very in depth about the internet as well, of course. Lorna, thank you very much. That's great. Pamela, really intense thinking tonight. Yeah, that's right. Good. That's very good. Helen, thanks, Michael. It's valuable information from you. Thank you, Helen. It is valuable. It's priceless. I've been studying it, as you know, for a year. It's 10 years. It's priceless knowledge, and it's coming out all the time. You really want to become a knowledgeable person, you have to fill yourself up with it. So absorb, absorb, absorb. I'll give you the information as to what to read, what to do, so that you can become a futurologist kind of person yourself. So you've got that already in your mind. But it's also fascinating. The upside of it, my goodness me, what is coming is stunning. Stunning. They reckon in 2 years we'll have flying taxis. They're already testing them. They're just like a big drone. I'm not sure I'll be going in one, but anyway, it sounds good. Helen, thank you very much. Lovely, all the best. Okay, so we'll finish off now, and no other questions. I shall see you again soon. I presume you're enjoying. Oh, okay, well, I'll put it again. Somebody's asked for the link for shocking. It's actually your shocking and astonishing future. Not just shocking future, your shocking and astonishing future. There it is. There's the link. I'm going to be doing some very interesting things coming up very, very soon. So let's see. The Jetsons are here. That's right. They are. Where blog writing, internet course, where to study the future. That's right. That's what we'll do. Alan, we've got that already for you there, that blog writing. It's great. It's shocking. I mean, the world is, I'm stunned every day. All right, so we've finished off now. I shall switch off, say goodbye. Thanks very much for coming, and I look forward to seeing you next time. And let me know if you have any subjects you'd like me to explain for you. Okay, all the best. Bye for now.